You know, I thought retirement would be all about quiet mornings by the lake, sipping coffee and watching the mist roll off the water at Willow Creek Estates. Turns out, it was more like stepping into a bad thriller, where the neighborhood watch is packing heat and hiding bodies. I'd just settled into my family's old log cabin, the one Grandpa earned back in '87 for some hush-hush army work during the Cold War tail end, when this kid comes crashing through the pines, yelling at his mom to call 911 on the damn squatter building a fire. Me, in my faded fatigues, looking every bit the harmless vet. And there she was, Laura Hargrove, HOA Queen Bee with her perfect highlights and that glare that could curdle milk, already on the phone barking about trespassers invading her precious gated paradise, her voice dripping with that upper crust venom you only get from folks who've never heard no without a lawsuit attached. It all escalated so fast. Cops screeching up the gravel road, sirens blasting like it was a raid on a meth lab, and Laura waving them in like she's directing traffic at a yacht club regatta, screaming, "Arrest him! He's squatting on community land!" I just sat there by my fire pit, poking the flames, figuring this was some mix-up I'd clear up with a deed and a handshake. But then Sheriff Daniels steps out, takes one look at me, and his whole posture shifts, snaps to attention like we're back on base. "Yes, sir. Colonel Ethan Crow, retired," he says, loud enough for the whole clearing to hear, and Laura's jaw hits the dirt, her kid Dylan stumbling back like he'd seen a ghost. Turns out, Daniels knew me from Joint Ops years ago, and when I pulled out the yellow DOD papers showing the cabin and 50 acres were mine, compensation for Grandpa's classified runs that kept this patch off limits to developers like Laura's old man back in the day, her face went from smug to seething, snatching the docs like they were poison, muttering, "This can't be real." But oh, it was. And that grudge? It ran deep, rooted in her dad's failed bid to buy it all for some resort scheme Grandpa shut down cold, citing security risks that really meant he smelled the greed a mile away. That night, as the cruisers peeled out and Laura slunk off with a promise in her eyes like, "This ain't over," I couldn't shake the feeling this was personal, deeper than land grabs or HOA fines, like our families had been circling each other for decades, her side always scheming to claw back what they lost, mine holding the line out of duty and distrust. I dug into the county records the next morning, maps and clippings spread across the scarred oak table, coffee going cold as I traced the lines. Back in '82, this whole valley was government turf for logistics ops, Grandpa running point from the cabin, turning down bribe after bribe from Hargrove Sr., who pulled strings with politicians but hit a wall against Army brass. The letters were brutal, Hargrove raging about missed opportunities, Grandpa's replies crisp and unyielding, ending with the transfer to our family as a quiet thank you for service, slamming the door on their dreams. And now Laura, inheriting that bitterness like a family heirloom, turning it into something twisted, using her HOA throne to bend rules, bury permits, and God knows what else to edge me out. Dylan showed up alone that afternoon, fidgeting on the porch like a guilty conscience with legs, blurting apologies for his mom's intensity about property lines. Stressed from community drama, he said, but his eyes kept flicking inside, hands shaky, like he was casing the joint or begging for help without words. I poured him coffee, casual-like, and asked about the improvements down by the creek, those permits I'd pulled showing underground work skipping eco-checks right on my border, and the kid nearly spilled his mug, stammering, "No construction, nothing like that." But sweat beading on his brow told another story, panic flashing when I showed him the docs. He bolted then, but not before I saw the fear crack through, that haunted look of someone trapped in a web they didn't spin. By dusk, I heard it. Faint cries echoing from the woods, muffled like from underground, a woman's voice pleading in broken English, pulling me out with a flashlight, heart pounding like old combat days. Dylan stepped from the shadows, face ghostly in the beam, whispering, "You shouldn't be here after dark." And that's when it hit. This wasn't about lawns or fences. It was darker, criminal with the kid caught in his mom's net. Next dawn, binoculars in hand, I watched his routine. 7:30 sharp bag of food and water, vanishing behind barriers for 15 minutes, emerging wrecked, like feeding captives, not crews. My gut twisted. Laura wasn't just power hungry. She was running something evil, exploiting folks for profit. Her HOA a front for God knows what horrors, driven by that inherited rage to control everything her dad couldn't. Then the hammer dropped. A slick suit from the county, Brennan, rolls up with Deputy Hayes, shoving eviction papers in my face, claiming groundwater toxins made the place uninhabitable, all smug and official. But I spotted the fakes, the wonky case number, photocopied SIG, generic data, and called their bluff, showing pics I'd snapped and emailed to FBI contacts, watching Brennan blanch as I mentioned federal fraud penalties. "Tell Laura her next play better be clean," I said, and they hightailed it, tails tucked, but it lit a fire. I cornered Dylan at the site later, and the dam broke, tears streaming as he confessed. "Mom's got people locked down there, 6 of them, migrants she grabs for trafficking rings, makes me feed 'em or else." His voice cracked on Sophia, the girl his age, snatched from the border, speaking Spanish and hope. And yeah, he thought he loved her, which tore him up worse, accomplice to his own mom's monster side, all because she said it was family business to fund their empire, payback for the land we stole. We had to act. Dylan nodded, desperate, but his phone buzzed with Laura's text. "I know you're talking to the vet. Come home or Sophia suffers." Engines roared then, SUVs barreling in, Laura stepping out like a general, megaphone blaring. "Ethan Crow, hand over yourself and my traitor son, or we start dropping bodies in the tunnels." Her crew, 8 pros in tack gear, ex-mercs probably, fanned out, automatic rifles glinting, and Dylan whispered they were the disposal team, the kind that erased problems for her cartel ties. I grabbed him, mind racing. Secret way in? Yeah, an old drain pipe he found scouting. We dashed to the cabin, me flipping a hidden panel, old intel gear, vests, radios from my days, and rigged defenses while I radioed Daniels off duty. Hostage crisis, trafficking, armed suspects, federal backup now. As they closed in, I had Dylan record a vid confession, spilling Laura's network, cartel links from Mexico up, HOA laundering cash, uploading it viral, news outlets pinging our cords. Laura's screams turned frantic. "You've screwed up, Crow. My Washington connections will bury this." But choppers thrummed overhead, feds rappelling down, Agent Reyes barking commands, FBI trafficking task force, stand down. And the twist? They confessed, "Colonel, you've been our bait. Pentagon flagged this spot as a cartel hub. Your cabin forced her hand." Sophia emerged with the others, not just a victim, undercover for her governor dad, gathering dirt on the whole ring, drives hidden with logs tying Laura to drugs, guns, even terror plots. Laura, cornered, waved a detonator. "If I can't have this valley, nobody does. Boom! Half the creek gone." But Reyes smirked. "We swapped your charges for flashbangs days ago." Laura pressed it anyway. Flashes and bangs lit the night, harmless chaos, and agents swarmed, cuffing her as she wailed about payoffs to senators, judges, all crumbling in real-time arrests across borders. It was poetic, her empire of hate and greed exploding in smoke, not fire. 6 months on, in that Denver courtroom, Laura got life. No parole. For trafficking, murders, racketeering, her orange jumpsuit a far cry from power suits, breaking only when eyeing Dylan. "I did it for our legacy." He stood. "On blood and lies? That legacy's dead." The op netted hundreds arrested, millions seized, victims freed, including Sophia, now with Dylan, turning trauma to purpose. My cabin, a survivor center, me advising the prez on this scourge. But here's the rub. Was I just a pawn in the feds' game? Or did fate drop me there to settle old scores? Makes you wonder if justice always needs a nudge, or if some folks like Laura are doomed by their own poison. What do you think? Did Laura deserve a shot at redemption, or was locking her away the only justice? Drop your take below. Share if you've seen HOA hell or community corruption up close. We're all in this fight against the hidden rot. Hit like, subscribe for more Real Talk tales where the underdog bites back.